Well, as the parent of a 20-year-old computer science student, I'm not hearing anything bad so far. So I'm going to turn to you, Christian, and tell me, where's the fly in this particular ointment? As the leader at product strategy and innovation at Citrix, you do a lot of research about the direction of the automation, technology, employment. I know you've come up with some scenarios. Maybe say a little bit about where you see this all going and the things that we should, as employers and as employees, watch out for. What's the challenge here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think as technologists, we always want to look a little bit ahead, and I think it's good for any technology provider always to be giving customers and would-be customers thought leadership, things to think about. Not just what can we solve today, but what's really happening and what are some of the trends and the things that we see, not just in technology but in work. So we recently commissioned a very detailed piece of research which we called Work 2035, and the idea of that really was to ask questions about the evolution of technology and the evolution of employees and try and figure out what that might look like in 2035, but how that might actually create business value in that particular time frame. And so what we actually painted were a bunch of different scenarios where we suggested that on one hand we may see workers be augmented with technology, on one hand we may see workers be completely replaced by technology. We may see organizations become more and more centralized over time, or we may see organizations become radically decentralized over time. And we ask those questions in the context of some of the technologies that we refer to often in the fourth industrial revolution. And so I'm not going to spoil the outcome of the report, and in fact I would ask you all to choose your favorite search engine and just type in Citrix Work 2035. There's some fantastic detailed information in there and a great summary, so I won't spoil the surprise. But I will give you a couple of data points that I think are kind of important. So the first one, and I think it's actually a very positive thing, that 70% of the respondents that we had to the survey, which was in all industries and literally all four corners of the globe, so 70+% of all the respondents felt that by 2035, AI would be intrinsic in helping them make better business decisions. Every single respondent, bar a few, actually said that by 2035, they believe that new technology interfaces and new technology environments will help them be more productive and also more proficient in the work that they do. So that's the positive piece. But what was really interesting actually was the difference that we saw in the respondents who were the business leaders versus the respondents who were the employees today. And we actually noticed that the business people have a far higher expectation of the impact of technology on overall output and productivity than the employees themselves. So the way I think about that, and we hear this over and over again in the context of fourth industrial revolution, automation and job displacement. So I think right now there's a definite sign that employees are a little bit worried, although they are reluctantly accepting that technology will help. They're a little bit worried about what the future might look like. So you can kind of understand that, I suppose, from certainly, the research stretches back from 2019, and we concluded it in 2021. So we have some excellent data points from before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and as, thankfully we're coming out of the pandemic. But this digital divide, I think, poses a really interesting question. What will business owners do in terms of their expectation by 2035, the business leaders? Will they continue to push, or will they come back more towards the employee expectation? And the employees, will they move more towards where the business leaders want to go, or will they try and be comfortable in the world that they know today? So in the report, we have some great conclusions in that. But I think perhaps the most interesting thing, certainly from where we are today, is to think about not necessarily about how many jobs we'll lose through automation, because that's not a new question. If we go back to automotive manufacturing or manufacturing in general, over the last 100 years, there have been so many jobs that have been displaced. But they've also been replaced by net new jobs as a result of things in that industry or brand new industries, which we're going to hear from in a moment, that simply didn't exist. So I think that balance from a business and an employee perspective is a really interesting one, and it'll be fascinating in 2035 to see who was right.
Yeah, that is wonderful. It's true, of course. When we got the interstate highway, we might have lost the horse and buggies, but we got Howard Johnson's. So, I mean, it's funny how technology plays out.